Now tuning in to Earbud Media. Audio for everyone.
Story to tell you.
Oh no. Okay.
I have something really scary to start this off with. I found out that there are some people who are using generative AI to summarize their podcasts.
Oh no. That's scary.
That there are people who are like, oh, I'm subscribed to so many podcasts.
Oh my gosh.
And so I found that out this week, and it made me want to die a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I hate that.
And I couldn't keep that in my brain, so I needed to share it with you.
No, absolutely. Listen, and I know true in my heart that the great listeners of Into the Twilight would never. And that's what I have to hold dear.
Hey, I'm going to just be so real with y'all. I'd rather you just unsubscribe than have a robot do that.
Yeah. Yeah, can robots do this? Can robots do this? Come on
no.
now.
I know that you can't see it and I can't see it, but Cody's backflipping. I can see it on the audio waves.
Yeah, I just did a full split turnaround, roundabout. The whole thing. It was nuts. Try that, AI.
Hey, welcome into Twilight.
Heyo.
It's March.
Oh my god, we did it.
And I don't know about your neck of the woods, but we had some fall spring these past couple days.
Mm-hmm.
And I am not depressed anymore, so how about that?
Right. Yeah. Sometimes you need
Depression?
just a day in winter that is like sun and slightly warmer than usual. And you're like, maybe life is good.
2 days, 60, clear skies?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Can't lose. Nothing can stop me.
Can't lose here. Ain't nothing gonna break in my stride.
Right. Exactly.
It's all, the ball is rolling up here.
Mm-hmm.
How are you?
I'm here. I'm living. I'm also enjoying the fruits of fall spring's labor, which is lovely.
I love it.
I need to clue you into
I'm so scared.
something so wild that is happening on reality TV right now.
So, whatever this is, I've never been scareder.
And the reason nobody's talking about this, even though it is buck wild what is currently happening, is because it's happening on the show Married at First Sight, which me, Nicole, and like 12 other people watch.
Okay. It's been I haven't been on their payroll in a while, so tell me.
The whole gambit is they assign people together, they get married without seeing each other. Or like that's the first time they see each other, and they're like, okay, let's see if this works. And they decide if they want to keep going or get a divorce after like 8 weeks.
Do they still have the fake like counselors and the fake like religious counsel?
Put some respect on Dr. Pepper's name, first of all. What we're not going to do is insult that like 4'0" queen. Okay.
No.
Yeah.
I listen, love them
Yes.
to death, but we also know the rate that these marriages work out.
Listen, sometimes they work. Sometimes they got things going on. If Love is Blind had people that weren't Nick and Vanessa Lachey, maybe just asking them questions about the relationship, maybe they'd have a good hit rate, but they don't. So
I also don't watch them to work out, so let's be so real.
Right, this is true. What is happening right now is unprecedented. And this photo I have is two couples. On the left, we have David and Michelle. And on the right, we have Madison and Alan. It starts with couple number one. They get off to a rocky start because Michelle is a little, like, not really feeling him. He's living in his parents' basement.
Yeah,
which is, he's got, they're not really a good match. And so she's kind of checked out, but he's trying. And she's like, okay, maybe I'll try. Whatever.
Just for the audience, by the looks of this man, his pillows are crunchy.
Yes.
I know he yells at video games. I can just feel it in my soul.
Yes. And so they don't have a lot of chemistry, and they're not really doing anything together. They're just kind of like cohabitating a little bit. And at one point, Michelle gets a text message from David that says, "You look so good. I want to eat you up." They are not in the same place. And so she's like, "That's weird. Was this meant for me? Because I am your wife, but also we do not have any sexual or emotional or romantic chemistry."
Oh my god.
And so she confronts him. Is like, "Hey, what the fuck is this text message?" And this man, dead ass, says to her, "Oh, that was a text for my cousin." And she's like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, she went out to go get food, and she sent me a picture, and it looked really good."
No.
And so I sent that to her. And naturally, she's like, "That's the wildest shit I've ever heard in my life. What are you talking about?"
Poison him, kill him in his sleep.
He is committed to this. And he, mind you, he had like all night to come up with something that he's going to say, right? Because obviously he's in the wrong. And so she's like, "Okay, weird to talk about a picture of food as I want to eat you up to your cousin. That's weird. But okay, what's the photo? What was the food?" And he's like, "I don't know what kind of food it was. It just looked really good." She's like, "You don't know what kind of food it was?"
Come on.
He's like, "Yeah, I don't know. Dumplings?" And she's like, "Okay, why is this pulling teeth? What is going on?" And she's like, "Can I see the picture?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't have the picture." And this whole thing is going on for like multiple days of him just like really staunchly in this. And she's like, "Clearly you're lying, but like you are being very steadfast about this." And she was just like, lets it go. She's like, he's not willing to say anything else. So I'm like at my fucking limit, and I think I'm going crazy.
I have never been more uncomfortable in my entire life. This feels
wild.
like torture.
Yeah. And so they're like in this little couples retreat, whatever. All the couples are there. And she's talking to her girlies, and she's like, "I sound, and I think I'm losing my mind, but I think what happened was there was never a picture." And she also calls the cousin, and the cousin's like, "No, that didn't happen," right? So she has at least that confirmation.
Oh my god.
So cousin sends him down the river, as she should. And so she's like,
He fucked my cousin.
"Surely what happens here in my head, my theory, is that there was never a picture. He went out that night with some of the other couples, and maybe he meant to send that text to someone else that he saw in person to kind of be like, 'Hey, looking at you. You know, you're looking cute.'" And so she goes on this full Nancy Drew expedition to talk to people, and her number one suspect is Madison, couple number 2.
Who looks like her, by the way.
Yes, they look very similar, which is also fun. And so Madison and David, when they had the honeymoons, they were gym buddies.
No.
They went to go to the gym every morning and would just talk for hours about their lives, about their marriages. And now Madison is with Alan. And Alan, I would defend him with my life. I love this man so much. He's got hollow eyes, and he's just trying his best. He like bought a whole bunch of new clothes because she didn't like how he dressed. He got Invisalign. He like got a haircut.
For Jillian Michaels?
Yeah, right. She looks like Julia Michaels. It's nuts. And this whole time he was like, "If you're not feeling with me, just tell me. Like, I don't want to like drag you along or the vice versa. Like, if you're not feeling this, we don't have to do this. Like, it's fine. I won't be like, I'll be hurt, but like, that's better than going through something we don't want to be in."
Jillian Michaels obviously wants a fucking project. Jesus.
Right. Michelle goes on this Nancy Drew case and it's like, "I'm going to talk to Madison." And Madison's like, "That's crazy. That shouldn't be for me." And she's like, "What do you mean it shouldn't be for you?" And she's like, "Well, that'd be wild if it was for me." And she's like, "Okay, suspicious. I'm going to go talk to some other people."
It's a weird way to answer that.
And she talks to both her and David. Both are very committed, saying, "No, that's not what happened." But then she's like, "Okay, let me see your text messages with each other. You guys have each other's phone numbers because you guys go to the gym.
Oh my God.
You guys talk to the gym." And neither of them have text messages from each other. Entire chat logs deleted. And so she's like, "That's fucking suspicious." That is wild. Why don't you just have, if all you're texting about is going to the gym, why are there no text messages here?
Yeah, how do you know when to show up?
She goes up and pulls her Instagram, and it's like, "Oh, tap the search bar. First person that comes up, David, but no chat history.
No.
Just recommended. Hey, you should message him." And she's like, "Interesting. That's weird." And so what happens is a producer goes to Madison and is like, "Hey girl, is she right? Like, is this something happening? Because nobody can go to bed tonight in this group activity. if this is what's happening and you're not going to say anything. And so what happens is
Oh my God.
they realize that she was right. Madison and David,
Because of course,
were obviously texting each other and had at least emotional affair. It is unclear if it was a physical affair, but it seems perhaps likely. And they just broke each other's marriages up to explore potentially just dating each other while on the show.
Jesus Christ.
The way it, like, cascades is the most dramatic and beautiful way, because Michelle is just being like, if I was Michelle, I would kill everyone, right? But, but she is like, I'm collecting information, and I know something is sus, and I don't want to be right, because I also don't want to hurt Alan's feelings, because he really wants this marriage to work. But also, if this is what's happening, that's fucked for both of us.
One, I would never cheat, obviously.
Yeah, right.
Two, I would never cheat, especially now with social media. I think that it's... What I've learned is that it's very hard to do that correctly. Three, what I have learned from people is that the people who do cheat are so bad at it. Because what do you mean that this person that you go to the gym with, you would have no communication logs with them? What the fuck? Why are you so bad at this?
Right.
Bad at crime. Bad at crime.
I love journalism. I love Nancy Drew shit. I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe, like, there are just 12 people talking about this, because it is fucking bananas. And they're just they just did a full swap in the middle, thinking nobody would notice or call them out. And it's delicious and diabolical.
I love reality TV. I don't know what to tell y'all. I love the people who go onto reality television.
Yep.
They have such interesting brains that need to be studied more for science.
Amen. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm here. I'm glad that it's a new month. And I love that. I'm going to apologize to our listeners, because my happy thing is something that's visual.
Yeah.
But it's something that brought me genuine joy this week, so I'm sorry about it. My my happy thing is something that I found out through existence on TikTok, and it is the Nikon Comedy Wildlife Awards.
Okay.
And I did not know that this was a thing. And it has brought me so much joy to look at the winners and finalists from 2024. The gallery of them is so funny to me. And I just love animals, and it has brought me so much joy to see all of these amazing photographers catching wild moments out in the world. The one that I shared specifically with you is, I think it's a seal. To me, it looks like a walrus. But it's an elephant seal that's just smiling away.
Just a goofy little smile on that thing.
Just a goofy smile from the photographer Gabriel Rojo.
Amazing.
And this whole gallery, I would have thought that you could never catch some of these in existence, but what I love about it too is that when the photographers submit them, they get to add a little catch line with it.
Sure, yeah.
And they're just so adorable. Like, there's one that I saw in this gallery of it's a hippo that has a whole bunch of, I don't know, like fauna covered in it. By the photographer Arthur, and they added the catch line of, "I'm too sexy for my love."
That's so good. That's so good.
And I think that it's just brought me a lot of joy just to see all these beautiful little animals. So that's my happy thing this week. It's just all these funny little animals.
This is so delightful. And, like, it reminds me of an internet that was good, you know?
Yes, exactly.
Back when we had that. Of just, sometimes you just saw an animal do something funny. Just something wacky.
Yes.
And that's just nature, baby. And that's beautiful. And being able to capture that and being like, haha, look at this frog that's kind of smiling, but kind of got the eyes bulging out and looks a little wild, you know? Or, like, this squirrel just really rocking out with a stick, you know? Like, that's great. That's good stuff.
Like, there is one with this owl that looks like it's yawning, maybe yelling.
Yeah.
In 2010, would have been a meme. Would have been one of those, like, wolf memes.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Fred. I think it's Armico.
Hell yeah.
It reminds me of an internet that existed, 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm immensely grateful that people with, decades of skill are still out there creating this kind of beautiful content. And Nikon is celebrating it.
Wow. I love this.
So
this is so good.
If you need somewhere to kind of remind you of hope in a hopeless place, just fucking bookmark that website. I'm telling you. It'll just give you some smiles.
Yes.
Because I definitely did. We have one piece of current events this week.
We do.
It's been a while since we've been able to give some updates about Sacramento. The last thing I remembered was we got a casting update, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But now we got a full-ass trailer.
We got a trailer. And it's coming out, like, really soon. It's, like, April.
Yeah.
It's happening. It's happening. This trailer's fun. I am still kind of jump scared of Kristen Stewart being both straight and pregnant with Michael Cera in this, but she is giving Futch in this for sure, so that's huge.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
This trailer made me cry.
Mm-hmm.
And not for the ways of, like, it made me cry because it felt like this trailer was ripped out of high school for me.
Yeah, totally.
It felt like this script had been sitting around covered in dust from like 2009, maybe 2010. Mm-hmm. And somebody was like, last year they were like, fuck it, let's just make this.
Right.
And seeing it, I mean, is it a recession indicator? Maybe. But it did bring a very strong sense of nostalgia that was comforting to me.
Yeah, for sure. It feels very just like, even the pull quote that's in both the trailer and the poster that's like, it's like super bad for anxiety-ridden 30-year-olds. It's like, yes, is that a recession indicator? Absolutely. But it also seems like it's going to be a fun time.
Yes, I agree. Even the yellow that they used for that too was very, what was it? Was it Sunshine? What is the one with the bus?
Oh, yes. Little Miss Sunshine?
Little Miss Sunshine. There we go. I was like, I haven't seen that yellow in ages.
Yeah, totally.
But it was very comforting to be able to see just a road trip movie.
Yeah.
Y'all know I love Sky High. So being able to see this group was very, I think is it going to be an awards movie? No. Am I going to love it though? Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be, I think it's just going to be very comforting, and it deals with grief in what looks like a very joyful, relaxing way. So I'm looking forward to it. It made me happy.
Yeah. Nice little fun movie news.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love to see it.
It was not at all, I was not expecting to see Keisu with one of those fake baby bumps.
Yeah.
Overalls. But I'm excited. It looks like a very, I don't know, she gets to be in a comedy role, and it's been a while. Yeah. So I'm excited about it. It looks fun.
I love that for her.
Me too. I would like to have not watched this episode of the Vampire Diaries.
Yeah, can we actually just go back and pick a different show?
Can we talk about Married at First Sight a little bit more instead?
Yeah, can we just do that? I'm in pain.
Because I thought last episode of The Killer was tough. It was a tough one.
Yeah.
But we get no reprieve this week with We All Go a Little Mad Sometimes.
Yeah.
They said, we're still early in the season. We're still in that first 11 episodes. Mm-hmm. How about some more pain, actually?
Yeah. Let's do things with extreme consequence, huh? How about that, right? Like, let's just...
Yeah. I have said this multiple times throughout the first 4 seasons of this show. And I know that this has more to do with, like, CW.
Yeah.
I am personally curious about the writers, though. This is an episode of Supernatural. So if there are people who have watched the Vampire Diaries, love the Vampire Diaries, but don't like Supernatural, this is an episode of Supernatural. All of the points in this,
yes,
I've seen in Supernatural. So I'm sorry to y'all.
Right.
But I can think of 2 specific episodes in Supernatural that are this one.
Yeah.
And that made that very hard. This is a hard episode for me to watch. It was painful.
Yeah.
In a complimentary way, but also go fuck yourself, CW.
Yeah. Come on now.
I already did this.
Why am I experiencing this pain again?
I thought I was done, you know? I thought I paid my dues, both by going to cons and getting a tattoo, and now I have to deal with it again because fucking Eric Kripke is on Amazon's payroll. So I'm done, actually. I can't do this anymore.
It's tough out here.
It's so exhausting. How did you feel? How did this episode do you?
God. I mean, I think just blanket content warnings for this.
There's no way to talk about this episode without talking about suicide.
Yeah, like that
suicidal
is
ideation. There's none
throughout. So that's where we're that's the business here. Just like I'm always floored at everyone's inability to attempt to help Elena with the myriad of things that she is experiencing. Even though it's different than how everyone else did their own vampire stuff. Like, whatever. Why are we just letting her astray while she's having hallucinations of Connor because she killed him and feeding into her already negative views about herself and her worthiness of living a life? Like,
it is rough to be Elena this episode.
Yeah.
I will say we've made some digs at this show before of like, oh, they'll just randomly add lore all of a sudden and we have to deal with it.
Right.
This was one of the first times where they just kind of threw lore at us about the consequences of killing one of the 5 that I didn't mind it.
Yeah, it did, like, track. Like, it made sense, because especially since we've had, like, you know, ghost stuff, particularly with Jeremy and all that, like, it did make sense of that kind of being some sort of bond that exists, and that you can't really get rid of in at least an easy way. And so, like, that, and especially given her already mounting feelings and anxieties and discomfort with everything, and also just, like, now full lack of trust of anyone around her, because it's like, what if you're secretly Connor who's in my head? Like, you know, like, it's just like, it sucks so bad, because, like, even when, like, there's little moments, obviously, like, she stabs, you know, Jeremy accidentally because she thinks it's Connor, and he's like, oh shit, and then even when Damon is just being like, hey girl, and she's like, get away from me, like, fuck off, like, you could be, I don't know who you are anymore. It's like, God, every sense of, like, reality that she has is now just fully being fucked with in a more direct, literal, visual way, which fucking sucks.
I imagine, and I think that for me it made it a little bit easier because when we were introduced to the 5, we saw that it happened with a witch. So I think a part of me was like, oh, well, there's something there. I don't know that I necessarily was thinking about it consciously, but that it made sense when they introduced that there would be a curse tied to it. I was like, oh, okay, well, that doesn't necessarily come out of nowhere. Right. But Elena was kind of already in a vibe of when I thought it was hallucinations, I assumed that it was coming out of guilt. So that didn't feel too out of it.
Yeah.
In the moment. And if it was a ghost, we had that lore already. So getting the context there, I was like, oh, okay, this is one of the first times where I don't feel bamboozled as an audience member. Yeah. This starting off with knowing that Jeremy just found out about him having the tattoos. We find out in this episode that he's now a potential, capital P, at first. And then he hears his sister scream his name out of dead sleep, comes down the stairs, probably still asleep, like still a little bit asleep.
Yeah.
And then we find out from his perspective, right, that she turns around and stabs him. I just feel so...
God.
I feel so bad for him because it's like, God damn it.
Right. He's like, I love you for sure. Listen, you're my sister. I love you to death. I love you. However, God, I can't catch a fucking break with you vampires. It is so, like, I'm trying real hard to extend compassion, but I can't wake up in the middle of the night.
You want me to believe that wasn't intentional, Elena?
Right.
You didn't just wake me up out of a dead sleep just to make sure that the ring was still working?
Right, exactly. And he's like, I'm wearing this ring. I don't want to, but I have to. Because I am gonna keep dying or getting hurt in various ways because of you guys. Right. But God, does it suck.
It is. I just... he's going through it this episode. In separate different ways than Elena is.
God, remember when the only thing that was plaguing Jeremy's mind was that he liked weed a little too much as a coping mechanism for grief?
When I think about it too long, I genuinely start crying. So it upsets me. And something that I regret more than anything is when I said that he was going to die on our first episode. Yeah. Like, there are very few things in this life that I regret. That was my biggest one.
That's the biggest one.
Because he has died a lot. Like, I wasn't wrong.
Right.
But I just didn't know what I didn't know,
Right. Yeah, for sure.
I didn't realize what I was saying out loud. I didn't realize that I was going to care about him so much. I think it's easy for a show to fumble the kind of experience that Elena is having this episode of a hallucination. I was really enjoying the way that Connor came back and haunted her.
Yeah.
One, because I'm very glad that Connor's back. Like, I was happy to see him again. Yeah. But also, the way that curse was impacting her didn't feel... it felt like it had a purpose. Yeah. And that made it enjoyable to watch. It wasn't just like, oh, we're gonna put more pain on Elena because we like causing women in this show pain.
Right.
And that was nice. Because sometimes they just do that. They do just like to cause women pain on the show.
Right. And, like, even the myriad of ways it is, like, impacts her, obviously, emotionally, but, like, in the different vehicles, right? Because it's like, then we have Catherine, right? Like, people that she has, like, very complicated relationships and, like, some sort of feelings towards. Of, like, first of all, missed her. Love her. Her immediately being like, do you ever stop fucking crying, you bitch? Oh my God, you were so annoying. Like, God, I missed her. And then her mom, manifesting in that way. Dude. Of being like, hey, girly pop, you know what you gotta do. You're always thinking it. You think it'd be so much easier. And, like, it's true. It would be. And that's what you should do because everyone else will be in less pain because of it. So get to it, Buttercup. It's like, fuck. Like, oh my God. Can she catch a break?
That part sucked so bad.
Yeah.
Because we know that Elena has issues with her parents.
Yes.
Specifically with her mom. I don't know that this was an intentional casting choice for her mom, but I did notice that the mom had really strong canines. And I was like,
Interesting.
Was that just like they liked this actor and then she also just happened to have strong canines, or was that like part of the thing?
Right.
Because hearing the things that the mom hallucination was saying to Elena were nasty, right? Like, yeah, totally. There was a moment I remember writing down where she told Elena of like, you were ready to die, remember? And it's like, fuck, dude. But having it come from someone who has that like stereotypical vampire fang, I thought was an interesting choice.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where sometimes I wish that shows had behind the scenes featurettes that we could access digitally. But fuck me, I guess, you know? That whole part, because not only it coming from her mom, but it being on the bridge was just a real fuck you choice.
Oh, God.
To do.
Like, I mean, jeez Louise. Like, are there any other places that Elena can brood happily? Not happily, but like, you know, in peace, that's not just tied to every terrible thing that's ever happened to her in her life that she blames herself for.
She hadn't been to the cemetery in a while.
Right, that's true.
But I don't know that there's a good angle of the sunrise at the cemetery like there is at that bridge.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So that might have also factored into it. It is, since we were at that moment, I think it is worth talking about the fact that the fading that happened in that moment of Connor into Damon was
diabolical,
sick and twisted.
Fucking nasty behavior. Oh my God.
I hated it so much. It killed me, and it. I mean, of course she asks too. Elena's like, well, how'd you find me? And he's like, girl.
Yeah, you fucking love this bridge. Like, you're always here. Yeah. You're not slick, okay? Like, if you're running away, this is where you go. Every time. Without fail.
I wouldn't need to put like a GPS tracker on you. I know where you go to bring.
Yeah. Right. And just like him in that moment fucking kills me. Because he's the one who's there and not Stefan, which we'll get to. But also, like, he is quite literally trying to talk her off the ledge and is being like, hey girl, like, you don't have to do this. Like, it's all good. Like, this is all chaotic and fucked up and bad, but like, this is not worth it. And then like when he realizes like, sun's coming, and he's like, wait, you don't got your fucking ring on. Fuck. What do I do? And like having that essentially recreation of just like fucking yeeting her off the bridge with him as it goes up. And I love that he too is like, fun fact, vampires don't like swimming. Haha. It's like, Damon, focus. But like, you know,
which is such a weird. That's such a weird tidbit.
Like, okay, thank you for the fun Snapple fact, but like, can we... We're processing stuff, all right? But that fucked me up. Hate it. Love it, but I hate it. Fuck.
I'm so done with watching and reading vampire media where really traumatic stuff happens at bridges.
It's a lot.
This is
We've had a lot.
2 in a row now with Vampire Academy and this, and I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm pissed off about it, actually.
Can't do it anymore. I can't trust a bridge again. If we're watching or reading something, I see a bridge, back away. Get out.
Yep. I'm skipping it. I'm done. I can't do it. I will say, to Damon's credit, he had so many good one-liners this episode.
Oh, yeah.
The amount that I wrote down, because he was just cracking me up. It started off, because Elena started this whole episode. She was still pissed at Stefan for hiding stuff with Klaus. And she's like, I'm not gonna call Stefan about killing my brother. Fuck that dude.
Yeah.
And so when she calls Damon, and Damon's like, listen. I get it. Like, fuck my brother, right? Number one, fuck my brother fan. P.S. I did call Stefan, just so you know.
Oops.
He's so funny. And she can't even talk. I can't. I'm not even gonna deal with Stefan right now. There was a moment too when so Damon is in Rick's classroom. And he has a couple of Rick moments. Yeah. This episode. But he's in Rick's classroom because the whole like fucking C plot is that Shane is hosting an exhibit at this school. Yeah. for who knows what reason. And we find out that Rick still has alcohol in his drawer.
My man.
Sir, I'm so done. I'm so done with you. But there was also another moment where we find out that he was still saving a spot at the bar for Rick.
Yeah.
And I'm so done. I'm so done with these two.
And even too, like, Matt comes up, is like, hey man, you good? And he's like, listen, if you think you're gonna be my new drinking buddy, you are not qualified, okay? Like, this spot is reserved forever until the end of time. Fuck you.
He's like, no, that's so fine, or whatever. Like, I know that I'm still a minor or whatever, and I'm not allowed to drink here.
Right.
Did just want to let you know there are some weird things happening. He's like, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Just also, too, Matt had a great line in that conversation where he's like, talking about, what's her name's dad?
April's dad?
April, yes, April's dad. And he's like, listen, you know, and I know, that any guy who has a lot of information or knows too much is creepy until proven otherwise. It's like, okay, Matt,
one of the best things he said.
Absolutely. Like, you're here. Got it. Great. Hello. Welcome.
Yeah, that was surprising coming out of his mouth, personally.
Yeah.
It was wild.
Yeah.
But he was correct, because we find out that earlier in the episode that April recognizes Shane.
Yes.
That he looks familiar. And that Shane knew April's dad. That Matt was able to do some investigating. I think during that conversation, Damon had said something like, "You're on the verge of impressing me." Yeah. And we find out that April's dad had called Shane 10 times the day he died.
Yep. Uh-oh.
And this is the part that pissed me off, because earlier in the episode, when Damon and Stefan were talking to Bonnie about Shane, they had no worries about her trying to, like, go figure out more information about the Hunter's Curse. They were like, yeah, just go. It doesn't matter to me about this random dude that you've suddenly been hanging out with. I don't care. Go figure it out. And in fact, I think Damon, of all people, was like, go. Like, get out of my face.
Right.
I'm so done. Thankfully, Shane wasn't in this episode too much.
Yeah.
He had a weird monologue about some rock earlier in the episode.
Yeah. This was the first tombstone. Ooh.
But he does get a little freaked out about the Hunter's Mark drawing that Jeremy did. And he's trying to play it cool. Obviously did not play it cool.
Right.
But does say to Bonnie at some point in the episode about, like, when you find your new hunter, which you're obviously going to do, and you're not going to tell me about it or whatever, you need to, like, bring that hunter to me. And, like, you're only going to want to bring him to me. Like, I'm the only one that's going to have this information.
Right. And I'm the only one you can trust with this information.
Yeah.
It's like, ew, gross, get away from her. How dare you?
Yeah. And it's like, so you're not a witch. You're not a vampire, presumably. I feel like we would have figured that out by now.
Right.
So are you just a human that knows too much? If so, that's weird.
Yeah, suspicious. Creepy until proven otherwise.
Correct. And I think it was during that moment that Damon was going to, like, go send Jeremy to suss out what was going on.
Right.
I think that there was another moment that Damon had something funny to say about Jeremy that I thought was funny. Oh, yeah, he calls him Van Helsing.
That's really good. And also Jeremy, too, when he's like, oh, sweet. Like, the only thing I gotta do is kill a vampire. Give me a stick right now. I'll kill Damon right now. Like, don't worry about it. Like, easy peasy. It's like, you are so funny. You guys are so funny.
Because initially it seemed like Damon just wanted him to go suss out who the new potential was.
Right.
But at some point, and we don't see this conversation happen, between, it ends up being Stefan and Jeremy who have this, but we find out that this conversation happens off screen, that Stefan and Jeremy talk about Jeremy having the tattoos, that he is the capital P potential now. I was really sad about this personally, that Chris is the one that had to die, because I really liked Chris.
It's the age-old prophecy of this fucking show. If you are a person of color, particularly if you're a black person,
literally, you
got one episode, maybe a handful.
Yep.
Or you're always just going to be tortured by the potential of it being your last forever. And especially, too, of them being like, okay, you know, Haley's got the thing where she's like, you know, breaking the sire, and that's why, and her and Caroline are besties now, and they're like, you know, they're working all together, and like they can do this, and like they don't have to stand up to Klaus anymore. They can just be like, fuck it, do their own thing, right? And Chris is like, yeah, for sure, but also like Klaus will for sure get like real mad at me, and they're like, trust us, bro, like you're so good, for sure, like don't even worry about it. And he's like, okay, I don't trust you guys that much though, so I am putting my life in you, but I hope this works. And they're like, for sure, it totally will work. And it's like, okay, here's the, you know, funeral party next day, being like, well, there goes Chris, thank you, Chris. Like, you know.
And it was such a bummer to know that he was no longer sired.
Yeah.
He was the one that was guarding Elena's door, that was like in on the whole thing. He was literally walking out the door, ready to go.
Yeah.
And to know that it wasn't, if it had been Klaus, I would be justifiably angry. But to have it be my son.
Right,
Jeremy,
my boy. Yeah.
be the one that did it. I'm not okay with that.
Yeah, he was so close to literally all he wanted was just be like, I don't want to be in this. Like,
right.
I want to be free.
And the only reason why he would do it is to save his sister. I hate that. And I can only imagine that some of the people that ship Caroline and Klaus got some of their ammo from this episode.
For sure. Yeah.
Because of Caroline going and being like, hey, so I'm going to distract you for a little bit. And it was this is wild too, because Caroline is usually a pretty good manipulator. Like, she knows how to lie. She was not doing a very good job this episode.
She flopped immediately. She was like, okay, so the reason this all happened, it's like, why are you spilling the beans? Being like, so this was all a ploy. We're getting Elena, but also she's gone, so sorry. And it's like, girl, what? Stand up. Where'd your convictions go? What happened? For Klaus? For Klaus? You fold for Klaus? What?
You've never folded for Klaus. Stand up.
Yeah. Stand up, girl. Come on now.
And he says that he knew, like, right away that this was a distraction, and he stayed because he is stigmatized.
Right.
But we also find out that the only reason he was willing to give up Chris is because Caroline is going to go on a date with him. And Tyler, fucking Tyler, freaks out at the end, throws something. Chill out. You're already on my shit list.
Right.
You don't need to throw stuff.
It's so interesting, too, because, like, there's more nuance to the Tyler thing than I was expecting there to be, because usually I write Tyler off as kind of an asshole, which he is.
Yes.
But, like, especially him seeing, like, not it just being a jealous of Klaus thing, but having it be Caroline has, like, no remorse for what happened to Chris. And, like, isn't feeling it in the way that I'm feeling it. Like, we were probably closer friends, but he was still, like, assumed to be around, right? Assumed to be at least, like, you know, in the periphery of their lives. And her being like, well, someone was gonna die anyway. Like, we had to do it, like, obviously. Which, like, is true. But, like, her kind of being more callous than we've seen her about stuff like this puts the Tyler stuff in a context that's interesting. Like, obviously, he's also being an asshole and a dick.
Yes.
But, like, her, or him kind of, like, seeing a different side of her that he does not particularly like, in addition to, like, the Klaus stuff, is, like, a bad cocktail for, pent-up aggression.
Yeah, I think in that moment he realized that Elena's higher up on the top 8 than he is.
Yeah,
and
totally.
He, in addition to having lost Chris in that moment, is expressing that emotion by throwing things. And I was like, listen.
Right.
Chill. Okay?
Right. It's like, come on, man.
I understand you've gone through a lot of, like, unnecessary grief in this moment, but I need you to... not throwing things would be great.
Yeah.
It's tough. But yeah, I think that I think it was a very interesting way of her expressing her loyalty.
Yeah.
I think that Elena would and has done the same thing for Caroline before. Mm-hmm. But I don't know that Tyler has seen that from Caroline.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Where he's benefited from it. Absolutely. But I don't think that he has seen it where he has been on the other side before. Mm-hmm. Which sucks. I mean, it was a shitty situation to be in. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I am not disappointed, but I was surprised by the porch breakup.
Yeah.
I was, I thought they were going to make us suffer through this shitty relationship.
They were like, surely we got some more gas in this tank, right? That we're going to try real hard to keep going. But no, I was very surprised as well, because even to that conversation with Damon and Elena of being like, hey, this is really annoying that I have to take the high road here, but I will do it because I don't want to be that guy, and also Stefan's gonna be real mad at me if I tell you, but there may or may not be a curse. Yeah, God, fucking stab me. I swear to God, I hate it.
It's not funny, but it is funny, right? Because she's like, thank you for saving me. His fucking response being, well, you know what they say about teenage suicide? It's good. That's a good response.
It's a good one. And being like, hey, your boy is distant, for sure, not denying that. And is he lying to you? Yes, absolutely. Not denying that. I am very surprised,
though, to your point, that he told her why Stefan was lying.
Right.
He did not, and usually, like earlier Stefan, or earlier Damon, would not have.
Right. And it's interesting, too, of like when he resigns himself to, thinking that Stefan's the one, right? Stefan and Elena are the one. That is when Elena gets more into him. being like, I'm out, I'm just going to tell you the information, and this is why, and he does it because he loves you, and like, this is a thing, and it's driving a wedge, and it sucks, but also it's for a greater thing that could help both of you. And I get that, and that's, that's my truth. And she's like, wait a minute, what if that's really sexy of you to tell me that? When Stefan did not tell me that. Interesting.
Because the thing is, and this is what fucking kills me, and why I love Damon, is he would rather do that knowing that it hurts his chances, right? But he would always rather have Elena in his life than not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we know, based on the conversation that happens at the end, that is not the same for Stefan.
Right. He's like, if it's not me, I'm out. I'm gone.
Right. And that's fair, right? Like, that is true with people's relationships, but that is not the case with Damon. He would always rather have her in his life than not.
Yeah.
And seeing that for Elena, she's like, well, wait a second. I think he doesn't just love me as a romantic relationship. I think that he actually cares about me.
Right.
Fuck.
I hate it here.
And I don't think the same can be said about Stefan.
No, because Stefan is immediately like, ever since you turned, your feelings for him have intensified. Blah, blah, blah. I'm not your number one boy anymore. And it's like, okay. And him even being like, I should have known this. It's all my fault. I basically drove him to you. Like all this shit. And being like, but I can't do this. It's too hard for me. And like, I know you don't even have to say it because I know what's going on. It's like, bro, stand up. Fucking At least give her the dignity of being, like, having a mature conversation rather than just talking at her, being like, I know what's going on.
And I know this isn't the point. I know this was probably not what the writers were trying to convey with this conversation.
Yeah.
But it was very hard for me not to see this. There are a lot of statistics that have shown that when a woman gets sick in a relationship, that in a heterosexual relationship, a male partner will leave. That, like, the man will leave. And it was very hard to not see this conversation that was exactly what happened.
Yeah.
That, like, as soon as they, solidified that relationship, she has only been sick, right? She's been really struggling with this transition. Right. And then she has been, not for any of her choice, right? But she's been sick. She's, like, for the last couple weeks, I imagine, in real time. And Stefan can't handle that.
Yeah, totally.
He, like, granted, he's only known her dealing with grief, but, like, when she is actually down bad, he can't cope with that. He can only deal with him being the one that is struggling.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, interesting, Stefan. Okay.
Interesting.
Interesting that your brother is fine with it. He can handle it when shit hits the fan. But you can't.
Yep.
Okay. Bye, Stefan. It was so interesting watching him cry there, too. 'Cause she was like, okay.
Right. It's like, are we done? Or, like, can I go inside? Or,
like, I told you that I didn't want to be saved. I told you that I didn't want to become a vampire, so, okay.
Yeah. Oh,
cool.
God.
I wish that we could have done this a couple weeks ago when I was still a human, but all right, cool.
Yeah.
Bye, and now I'm still immortal.
Right, awesome, cool. I'm glad we all got what we wanted out of this conversation.
Right. Bye, and also I still own your house, I guess.
Right. I'm still your landlord, I think.
Right. Bye, and also I'll see you at school tomorrow. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Do well on your history test tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah, I'll see you at the next community event, ? God. It's just... I don't know. It was supposed to be a really sad scene, but I don't care about their relationship.
Yeah.
So watching them mutually decide to end it, I was like, okay.
Right, cool. What's next, y'all? What's going on?
And also we have, I know that he's still in the cast, so it's just like, it is hard to see this as anything that is final, but I know that they're still going to be somewhat involved for the next couple of seasons.
Yeah.
So, sure, you've broken up. Let's see what happens next, I guess. I'm nervous about what this means for the dynamic between the three of them. Seeing as, again, we're not even halfway through this season.
Yeah.
So, yikes. But next week, given what happened with Jeremy this episode, I'm nervous because next week's titled My Brother's Keeper.
Oh, God.
I'm so scared.
Don't feel great. Don't feel great.
It doesn't feel good. And also, presumably, Caroline is going on her court-mandated date with Klaus.
God.
She looks great. He looks, unfortunately, very happy. So I'm nervous. But we have some amazing patrons to thank. Would you like to start us off?
Absolutely. Thank you to Greg Lautner.
Ooh, thank you to April Dobrev.
Pew pew. Thank you to Kristen Stewart.
Ooh, thank you to Callista Lockwood.
Ow. Thank you to Sean Salvatore.
Ooh, thank you to Megan Pattinson.
Pew pew. Thank you to Katya Karp.
Ooh, thank you to Genevieve Morgan.
Ooh, thank you to Danielle Burke.
Ooh, thank you to Janae Bennett.
Pew pew. Thank you to Sophia Salinger.
Ooh, thank you to Dan Zeklos.
Ow. Thank you to Emily Ozera.
Ooh, and last but certainly not least, thank you to Jaylene Ivashkov.
Pew, pew, pew.
So I have a fan fiction for you. It
Hell
is by the author, Cosmic Adventure.
Okay.
The title is The Curious Case of the Failed Weed Cookies.
Oh, jeez.
The summary of this is, having trouble sleeping and desperate to finally get some peace, Elena mistakenly eats some vervain cookies she finds in her freezer that Jeremy made before he left for Colorado when he was too high to tell the difference between vervain and weed, making her temporarily resistant to compulsion at just the right moment. So when she arrives to save Damon from Rebecca the next day, he can't exactly get her to leave. And this takes place during Season 3, Episode 18.
Love.
I'm reading from Chapter 5. I honestly had no idea, she said. How? He asked, genuinely bewildered. Did you fall and trip into an herb garden from Dracula's nightmares, and then did have your memory wiped by the anti-vamp fairy? Do you remember eating or drinking anything unusual? Elena frowned, visibly pensive, until her entire expression exploded with laughter. Oh my God. What? Before Jared left for Denver, he said he made some weed cookies and then left them in the back of the freezer. I've been having trouble sleeping lately, so I pilfered his stash. Is it any good? She shot him a look that he'd come to realize played at exacerbation just enough to pretend to hide her amusement. Well, I wouldn't know, would I? I just assumed it was freezer burn, but now I think about it, the cookie did have a funny and familiar taste, and he was pretty stoned the night he baked them. You mean to tell me that little Gilbert couldn't tell the difference between vervain and a cannabis plant, and he thinks he's going to art school? Damon deadpanned. End scene.
Oh my God. I'm obsessed.
The idea that Jeremy knows how to make weed cookies, and presumably this is not the first time that he has done it, I need to know more about this.
He should just be a stoner. He shouldn't be involved in all this.
No.
Life was so much simpler.
He needs to go back to his roots of just being able to play League of Legends and be high in peace.
God.
I need it for him desperately.
So bad.
I wish it for him, even though I know that that's not the case now that he is a magical vampire hunter, and it scares me so bad.
God.
But alas. Well, friends, tell your friends about the show. I now have Married at First Sight episodes to catch up on and more.
Absolutely.
Which I'm very much looking forward to. Another thing that you can do is join our Patreon. We have some very exciting bonus episodes on there, one of which is very recent about Nosferatu. But as we say here in the Pacific Northwest,
get bit.
Ooh.
Ow.
Into the Twilight is an Earbud Media production. You can follow us on Twitter at Into the Twilight or on TikTok at Into the Twilight Show. You can find me at Cody Corral on Twitter and Allie at Alexandria Does. And you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/Into the Twilight. We have merch, so much stuff. All those links are in the episode description. And make sure to rate and review us on your favorite podcast hosting platform. It really helps the show. Thanks. Bye.
You've been listening to Earbud Media Production. Earbud Media, audio for everyone.